Few shows could captivate audiences quite like the CHiPs ensemble, offering viewers an exhilarating glimpse into the lives of two motorcycle officers. Officer Francis Poncherello and Officer Jonathan Andrew Baker complemented each other superbly, captivating audiences with thrilling scenes and their on-screen chemistry. Such remarkable dynamics stem from an exceptional cast. So, what has become of the CHiPs team? The series underwent some changes in its cast over the years, but each member brought something invaluable to the show. They entertained audiences for 139 episodes spanning 6 seasons. In fact, the show received such a warm reception that it even spawned a reunion TV movie. Sadly, all the actors met tragic ends. So grab your helmets and buckle up as we explore the highs and lows of the CHiPs cast. Let's roll. Robert Pine as Sergeant Joseph Gator. Robert Pine portrayed none other than Sergeant Joseph Gator, affectionately known as Joe. Feel free to use that moniker, but adhere to the usual conventions in all other aspects. Joe was a stickler for protocol, always sticking to the rulebook. While his sage advice garnered appreciation, it was the instinctive actions of the iconic motorcycle duo that often stole the show. Particularly, Ponch Pine boasted the most extensive acting experience among the main CHiPs cast, making his mark early on with a significant breakthrough in 1964, followed by his notable role in the 1966 film adaptation of the classic series Monster Go Home. He's truly seen it all. To date, Pine has amassed an impressive 227 projects and continues to grace screens at the age of 82, appearing in recent productions such as the Magnum P.I. reboot and 911 Lone Star. When Robert Pine isn't in the spotlight, his equally renowned son takes center stage. Chris Pine adds to the roster of distinguished Hollywood. Chris is gaining fame for his portrayal of a young Captain Kirk in Star Trek and Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman, among other notable roles. Witnessing father and son collaborate on a project is as simple as looking back at 2010's Small Town Saturday Night. Pine's contributions extend beyond the small and silver screens. He guest-starred as the Acheron ambassador Leah in a Season 3 episode of Star Trek Voyager, and as Vulcan Captain Taven in a Season 1 episode of Star Trek Enterprise. His diverse credits include appearances in 6 Feet Under Beverly Hills 902, Cerro, and Match Game. In September 2013, he lent his voice to the character of the Bishop of Arundel in Disney's animated movie Frozen Brody Greer as Officer Barry Barrich. Officer Barry Burita, affectionately known as Bear among his peers, was portrayed by Brody Greer, whose character exuded a captivating smile that could win over anyone. From 1977 to 1982, Greer showcased his radiant grin on the CHiPs set, marking his most notable role. Prior to this, his background mirrored that of many actors of his era, particularly those who didn't begin their careers on Broadway. Although CHiPs represented a pinnacle in his career, Greer ventured into smaller roles after its conclusion, eventually settling into semi-retirement until the show's reunion event. While La Heat in 1999 hinted at a potential return to acting, it never materialized. By 2010, Greer had transitioned into semi-retirement, presently at the age of 74. 4 Greer mentors volleyball and basketball teams at middle and high schools in Carmel, California. Nonetheless, he certainly made a strong start with an impressive spike early in his career. Lou Wagner as Heron Arles. From the 2nd season onward, Lou Wagner joined the CHiPs ensemble as mechanic Heron Arles. This character played a significant role because, realistically, the main duo relied heavily on their bikes, particularly given the predicaments they often found themselves in. While Aris may have fallen short in his mechanic skills, much to the dismay of the characters, he provided viewers with plenty of comedic moments. Fortunately, Wagner steed up to the PL in his port trial of Arles, having previously gained recognition as Lucius, the chimpanzee in the original Planet of the Apes 1968. When he wasn't tinkering with vehicles, he satisfied hungry appetites by appearing in various McDonald's commercials as the professor, a role he portrayed for 15 years. His involvement in Raising Hope, spanning from 2012 to 2014, emerged as one of his most notable endeavors. Additionally, although the details remain undisclosed until its release, he also contributed to the 2018 production Breaking Mad alongside Ed Asner. Whatever car he embodied, he undoubtedly delivered his performance with excellence. Lou is now 83 years old. Michael Dorn as Officer Jebediah Turner. Never allow a stagnant phase in life to deter you from pursuing your aspirations. Michael Dorn's journey to success defied expectations. Prior to his role in CHiPs, he made a chance appearance in Days of Our Lives. Another uncredited stint saw him as a APO Creed's bodyguard in the original Rocky film. However, with CHiPs, Dorn received the recognition he deserved, stepping into the realm of consistent acting as Jebediah Turner. By 1987, he assumed the role of Lot Wolf in Star Trek: The Next Generation, a character he portrayed across 175 episodes. Dorn, aged 71, made numerous returns, establishing himself as a key recurring figure in the series and its spin-offs. He has remained active in the industry, reprising his role as Worf in the third season of the Paramount Plus streaming series Star Trek Peered, and lending his voice to the Santa Claus as the Sandman. However, it would be remiss to overlook this significant talent. As a member of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, Dorn boasts proficiency as a pilot. He has soared alongside the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, piloting various jet aircraft, including a Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star. Humorously dubbed his starship a North American FE-6 Sabre, and currently owns a North American Sabre liner, Larry Wilcox. As Officer John Baker, half of the leading ensemble of CHiPs, Larry Wilcox portrayed the unforgettable Officer Baker. Baker epitomized empathy, protocol, and prudence. His reputation for compassion often led Officer Baker to undertake emotionally charged missions involving interactions with grieving families and similar situations. While Baker served the community with his empathetic approach, Larry Wilcox served in the military, completing a 13-month tour in Vietnam. His acting career gained significant traction with a noteworthy start appearing in 22 episodes of Lassie, where he had ample opportunity to showcase his versatility to prospective producers. Throughout his lifetime, Wilcox, age 76, has demonstrated a keen interest in the multifaceted aspects of bringing a show to fruition. Even during his tenure as part of the CHiPs ensemble, he brought his personal camera to the set and eagerly absorbed knowledge about the production process. This experience proved invaluable as he later contributed to the composition of the Wolfman Jack story. His most recent film, Endeavor, is Forgiven This Gun for Hire, in which he shares the screen with Richard P.R.I. Jr. and Shirley Jones, the latter of whom rose to prominence through her role in The Partridge Family. During his leisure time, he cherishes moments spent with his children and his wife, Marlene, herself a former member of the Olympic track team. Paul Linka, as Officer Arthur Gurman, gaming carried a lot of negative perceptions years ago. But that didn't deter Officer Arthur Grossen from indulging. Grossen, portrayed by Paul Linka, engaged in games of chance, writing, reading, and even assumed the persona of the Hobgoblin for Halloween festivities. Because why not? Prior to joining law enforcement, Link featured in several other immensely popular shows of the era, such as The Waltons and Happy Days. Additionally, he established a significant rapport on Ron Howard's directorial debut, Grand Theft Auto, portraying the offspring of Moran Ross's character. This connection with Howard proved mutually advantageous. Following his tenure as a member of the CHiPs ensemble, Linka reunited with Howard for Parenthood 1989, starring alongside the occasionally recognizable Steve Martin. At 75 years old today, he is wedded to Christine Healy, his second spouse, who also boasts a career in acting. The loss of his first wife, served as the impetus behind his production time Flies When You're Alive, a true love story. Linka encountered his initial spouse, Francesca Cheeks Draper, a musician and composer, at a gathering in Los Angeles in 1976. They exchanged vows in 1978 and welcomed 3 children into the world: Jasper, Ryan, and Rose. Tragically, when his wife succumbed to cancer in 1986, Link channeled his anguish into crafting and performing a play titled Time Flies When You're Alive. Originally presented as a solo performance in Los Angeles and an HBO special, the endeavor was subsequently adapted into the book Time Flies When You're Alive, a true love story. In 2016, he staged a follow-up solo act titled It's Time, which continued to explore themes of loss, mortality, and resilience. Linka later entered into matrimony with Christine Healy in 1991. Together they share one offspring, a daughter named Lily Randy Oakes, as Officer Bonnie Clark. Officer Bonnie Clark's journey began as a country girl before she joined the CHiPs cast as a fiery patrol officer. Her knack for following her instincts seamlessly integrated her into the team. Prior to her role as Clark on CHiPs, Randy Oakes made a brief appearance on an episode of McCloud in 1976. Though short-lived, it served as a stepping stone as she landed a role on CHiPs the following year. Post-Stow's success found Oakes as she graced the screens of The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. While participating in the 1979 edition of Battle of the Network Stars, Oakes, representing the NBC team, crossed paths with her future spouse, actor Gregory Harrison, from Trapper John M.D., competing for the CBS team. Oakes and Harrison exchanged vows on December 21, 1980, keeping their marriage private from the public eye for several years. They are proud parents to 3 daughters: Emily, born 1985, Lillian, born 1989, and Kate, born 1991. Additionally, the couple welcomed a son, Quinn Edgar, through adoption. Initially residing in Sherman Oaks, California, the family relocated to Southern Oregon in the early 1990s, first in Gold Beach, Oregon, for 15 years, then Eugene, Oregon. Despite embracing a quieter lifestyle, Oakes' memorable performance on the show remains cherished. She's now 72 years old. Brienne Leary as Officer Cindy Cahill. Brianna Lai portrayed Officer Cindy Cahill in the second season of CHiPs, 1978-1979, appearing in a recurring role. Lai made her television debut as a contestant on Match Game 76, where she showcased her skills and won several games across 4 episodes, amassing a total of 950. Returning to the show 3 years later, she transitioned to a celebrity panelist, making her the only individual to have participated in both capacities. On the 1970s version, as a contestant in 1979. Kirstie Alley similarly returned to the rebooted show as a panelist in 2019. She also graced the screens of Battle of the Network Stars 5 in November 1978 and Battle of the Network Stars The 6 in May 1979. Additionally, she made a guest appearance as Marguerite, the love interest of Jack Sullivan, the widowed father of public defender Christine Sullivan, in an episode of Night Court Season 3, Episode 3 in 1985. From 1996 to 1998, Li collaborated with Robin Steele to create Sticking Around, an animated children's TV show in Canada. Notably, in 2007, Leary obtained a patent for her invention Paw Plunger, a portable device designed for cleaning an animal's paw. Ellen Geer as Julie Barris. Ellen Geer portrayed the character Julie Barris in the series. In 1963, Geer joined the Minnesota Theater Company for the inaugural seasons of the original Tyrone Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, where, among various roles, she took on the lead in Guthrie's rendition of Bernard Shaw's St. Joan. Geer commenced her cinematic journey playing a nun in the 1968 Richard Lester drama Tulia. This was followed by an appearance in the Reavers' 1969, alongside her father Will Geer. Her television movie repertoire during this period encompassed Babe 1975, The Lindbergh Kidnapping Case 1976, The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald 1977, and A Shining Season 1979. The solitary cinematic endeavor she undertook in the late 1970s was Jonathan Kaplan's Over the Edge in 1979. Geer has been the artistic director of the Will Geer Theatricum Botanicum, a professional repertory outdoor theater located in Topanga Canyon, California, since 1978. Additionally, for a span of 12 years, Geer served as a visiting associate professor, imparting her knowledge of acting at the University of California, Los Angeles School of Theater Bruce Penhall as Officer Bruce. Nelson Hall gained recognition for his portrayal of Cadet Do Officer Bruce Nelson in the concluding season of the NBC TV series CHiPs. Penhall's initiation into speedway racing occurred at the age of 16 at Irwindale Raceway on the American West Coast. Transitioning from a novice, he swiftly made his mark in the U.S. National Championships, clinching top 3 finishes twice. In 1976, he embarked on tours to Israel, followed by Australia and New Zealand in 1977, before being enticed to join Cradley Heath Heathens in 1978 by Dan McCormick and Derek Pugh. Penhall's introduction to CHiPs unfolded in the season 6 episode titled Speedway Fever, focusing primarily on his character Nelson's triumph in the 1982 World Final at the LA Coliseum. The episode featured scenes shot in the pits during races, with actual footage of the final. Incorporated in 1999, Penhall received induction into the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Subsequently, in 2008, he assumed joint promotion duties alongside Jeffrey Immediato for speedway racing events at the Grand at Industry Hills Racetrack in City of Industry, California. In 1985, Penhall journeyed to Sydney, Australia, to deliver the eulogy at the funeral of rider Billy Sanders following the latter's tragic death by suicide at his residence in Ipswich, England. Penhall and Sanders shared a close friendship, with Penhall serving as the godfather to Sanders' children, Dean and Belinda. In a heart-rending turn of events, Dean Sanders, who was just 10 years old and attending school a mere 10 miles from the Sanders' Ipswich home at the time of his father's passing, would later also succumb to suicide. Caitlyn Jenner as Officer Steve M. Lash. During the 1981-1982 period, Jenner assumed a recurring role in the police series CHiPs, appearing as Officer Steve M. Lash for 6 episodes, filling in for actor Eric Estrada, who was embroiled in a contractual dispute with NBC and MGM. Jenner embarked on television ventures in the mid-1970s, featuring both as herself and in various character portrayals. Among Jenner's initial recurring television engagements was serving as a co-host on the short-lived daytime talk and variety series America Alive in 1978. Jenner's debut in film occurred with the comedy Can't Stop the Music, 1980. In an April 2015-2020 television interview with Diane Sawyer, Jenner publicly acknowledged being a trans woman, revealing a lifelong struggle with gender dysphoria and affirming, "For all intents and purposes, I'm a woman." Jenner had embraced feminine attire for many years and underwent hormone replacement therapy transitioning. Jenner had been married 3 times, initially to Christy Scott, from 1972 to 1981. They shared 2 children, son Bert and daughter Cassandra Casey Marino. Nay, Jenner, Jenner and Scott's divorce was finalized in the early days of January 1981. On January 5, 1981, Jenner tied the knot with songwriter Linda Thompson in Hawaii. Together, they have 2 sons, Brandon and Brody. However, by February 1986, Jenner and Thompson had parted ways and later divorced. Their sons subsequently gained fame through the reality show The Princes of Malibu, with Brody also featuring in the Hills reality series Eric Estrada as Officer Frank Poncherello. Typically, actual motorcycle officers don't operate in pairs to maintain the camaraderie. The series clarified that Eric Estrada's character was under scrutiny. His penchant for trouble necessitated a supervising officer to accompany him. Estrada embodied Ponch's impulsive and daring nature flawlessly. Interestingly, his missile venturi led him to join the force. After Joan apprehended him for reading his deer bake without a helmet, Estrada gained recognition in another law enforcement-themed project, the film The New Centurions 1972, which paved the way for sporadic appearances on other crime dramas. However, his inclusion in the CHiPs cast marked a significant milestone. While he didn't make it to our list of top 10 heartthrobs of the 70s, he certainly captivated many admirers. A significant injury briefly altered Ponch's appearance. Estrada, age 74, suffered multiple rib fractures and wrist injuries from a bike accident followed by contract disputes. Thankfully, he made a swift comeback and found success in numerous Spanish-language soap operas. He even ventured into B-movies, pushing boundaries by portraying himself. Most notably, Estrada later served as a reserve officer, patrolling on his trusty, you guessed it, motorcycle. We've seen their highs and lows, their successes and struggles, and, though they may have left us too soon, so let's take a moment to honor their memory and reflect on the joy they brought to our screens. Who stood out to you the most in the series, and between JN and Punch, who was your top pick? Drop your thoughts down below. We go through each comment and value your input.